What is Fenns and Whixall National Nature Reserve?
It's Britain's third largest raised bog. It's an area that was very severely damaged by peat cutting, and for the last 23 years Natural England and Natural Resources Wales have been cutting down the forests, cutting down the scrub and damming the ditches to get the peat bog to be mended again.
What is the difference between the moss and the bog?
There isn't a difference. The moss is a Western or Shropshire name for a peat bog. A peat bog is a place which is very acid and where only very specialist acid tolerant plants and animals can live. So it's different from a fen and a swamp, but the local name for it is a moss. The moss is very old. You are sitting on 10,000 years worth of peat underneath you. The glaciers came down from Wales and they came from the North Sea and they bulldozed the whole of the countryside. All of Whixall was bulldozed completely bare, and when they melted back they dumped two great big ridges, two moraines, and in the sandy bit, the low area between, there was so much water from the melting ice that a great big wetland, a great big lake developed here, and over the last 10,000 years it's gradually filled in with peat to the point where sphagnum bog moss, and we've got some behind us in the pool, where that came in, and that of course made the water very acid and it pickled all the plant remains and they built up and up and up to make a big raised bog. If you drain the bog and you cut it and you take it away, you've got no more history left here. And also, of course, you know, if we look in the wet peat cuttings here, you've got really rare bog creatures and they can't live anywhere else. So if you cut peat and drain bogs, they all become extinct. And we have a duty to look after our wonderful bog wildlife. But it's more than that. How old are you?
9.
You're 9, right. We're doing this for your future, because this peat bog underneath us is a huge store of carbon, and if you cut this bog and drain it, all of that carbon will go up into the air and climate change will become much, much worse, and that will completely mess up your world that you're going to grow up in. So it's really important for the past, the present and the future to mend this peat bog.
How big is the moss?
It's huge. I don't know if any of you boys going to go up as spacemen in space when you get bigger?
No.
How about you girls?
No.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I heard that you can see it when you go up to space.
You can. So if any of you go up in space on your holidays in the future, which you probably will, give us a wave. It's nearly 1,000 hectares, 2,500 acres. It's Britain's third largest raised bog, huge, and a huge important store of carbon and wildlife.
Have you seen an adder yet?
I have. Yes, I saw an adder last week. It was by the trackside and I nearly trod on it.
What is the strangest thing you found on the moss?
The strangest thing I found was one of the old peat cutter's boots, which he must have taken off because it leaked. He threw it in the peat bog and it then got swallowed up by peat, and his son, who was a very old man, came back to the same place that his father had been cutting many years later and dug it up out of the peat.
Have you ever measured how deep one of these pool behind us are?
Yes. Some of our research workers have measured them by falling in. There was one drain where somebody was like that and they were completely down the drain. Some of the drains on the moss were over 4 metres deep, but this one is just a peat cutting. This isn't a drain, it's a peat cutting, and this one would just be about 36, it would be about 1 metre deep.
Have you ever seen like a bog body or?
I have, yes, but this bog is very, very special because we've got more bog bodies than any other bog in Britain. taken from this bog, but they were found a long time ago before we knew how to preserve them. They were in the late 1800s, so all we have are newspaper records about them.
Thank you for those answers, they were really interesting.
You're welcome.